Right now at 5:30, a new push for California to leave the United States and go it on our own. Donald Trump, of course, won the general election in November by more than 2 million votes. But following historical precedent, Democratic president nominee Kamala Harris decidedly won the state of California, taking more than 58% of the vote. And with that deep divide, a radical idea is once again in the headlines. It is a push for California to secede from the United States. Our Max Darrow traveled to Fresno to meet the man driving the Calexit movement.
Of the 50 stars on the American flag, star number 31 became California's in 1850. But nearly 200 years later, there's a growing push for that marriage to end from people who believe California and America have drifted too far apart. And Fresno native Marcus Ruiz Evans is leading the way.
Everybody thought I was insane when I proposed this originally, and everybody said it was going to go nowhere.
Ruiz Evans is advocating for California to secede and become an independent nation in what has become known as Calexit.
I think California values are completely different from American values, and they've been that way for a long time.
Every day, he has conversation after conversation, working to raise awareness to his cause.
Do you have a few minutes to talk?
For him, it's personal. He says his mom moved from Texas to California as a young woman. The reason...
So she came here, and she was treated with equality and respect. So with my aunts.
He's passionate, with strong feelings towards the current administration and the State of the Union.
I think when you have insurrections and you have one half of the country say that's cool, and then elect a president who led the insurrection, yeah, you're already there.
Every 4 years, do you want to go through this fear that you're going to lose access, as you know it, to clean air, clean water, clean land, less pollution, safe places for transgender, undocumented immigrants not having to live in terror, etc.
But Ruiz Evans says the idea for this movement actually came well before President Trump's first term in office.
I got the idea in 2007.
But with Trump winning a second election,
for American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is Liberation Day.
And more than 77 million Americans voting in favor of putting him back in the Oval Office, Ruiz Evans says the Calexit movement has gained new and significant traction.
We think we've gone to the point where it doesn't work. There are people out there who will respond to California as a nation.
And there is potential that Californians will get a chance to vote on this. If a little over 546,000 registered voters sign these petitions by mid-July,
people sign here,
Californians will see the question, should California leave the United States and become a free and independent country on the 2028 ballot?
I think we can get it.
But there's a catch. If it winds up on the ballot and enough voters do say yes, it wouldn't mean California secedes. It would create an official commission to study California's viability as an independent nation.
No, it doesn't make secession automatically happen. You can't do that. That's illegal.
That rule comes from the 1869 Supreme Court ruling of Texas versus White. In a 5-3 decision, the court ruled states do not have the right to unilaterally secede. But there's a line from the majority opinion that Ruiz Evans points to that he believes reveals a legal pathway there. Justice Salmon Portland Chase writes, the union between Texas and the other states was as complete, as perpetual, and as indissoluble as the union between the original states. There was no place for reconsideration or revocation, except through revolution or through consent of the states.
Texas versus White literally says consent of the states. Consent is not defined. Only a Supreme Court can define that.
And his belief is that with the current Republican supermajority, a consensus could be reached.
They have the power alone to vote us out.
There's probably no way it really can secede, but if it did, California could survive on its own.
By the balance sheet, Professor Henry Brady, an economics and political science expert at UC Berkeley, says California sends more federal tax dollars to Washington, D.C. than any other states and is less dependent on federal dollars than most states. On top of that, the state of California has the 6th largest economy in the world.
We are an enormously important part of the nation because we produce so much gross national product. So to lose California, despite its wokeness that bothers Mr. Trump, would in fact be a problem for the United States.
But Brady thinks it still would also be problematic for California.
And I think in the end you would find that, in fact, economically we'd be worse off if we left the United States. I think it's an example of what happens when you have a lot of stuff going on in a country like we do right now, and a group decides, well, maybe the answer to the problem is to get away from the United States because we could do it better if we did it on our own.
I'm a second-generation farmer, grower. I can't envision the United States without California.
Aaron Gill's family roots run deep in the Golden State.
California's home.
He, too, thinks there are big issues that the state and the nation are facing that need solving.
If you take agriculture really doesn't get the respect it deserves in California about how many people it feeds.
And even bigger picture.
And I see more of a divide of have-nots and haves. We're at one of those junctions in history that a conversation is being forced.
Gill is representative of many Californians who understand the divisive issues facing Americans, but thinks the idea of secession is simply not an option.
California will do better being part of the United States versus apart from it. So I welcome more discussion and more debate. That's what I think will bring more balance to how California develops.
Though he disagrees with the Calexit movement, Gill says he does see value in the conversation this has sparked.
It's an out-of-the-box conversation, but it will bring in a lot of conversations or a lot of dialogue in terms of why California, what is its future, what should it be, and what can it be, and what position does it play within the United States as a whole.
If Calexit were to succeed, Ruiz-Evans says cooperation between California and the United States would be essential.
Putting up walls between America and California would be disastrous for both of our economies.
He knows the idea may sound drastic.
They're totally right. This is extreme. This is radical.
But to Ruiz-Evans, these divided times call for radical measures.
So I did reach out to Marcus Ruiz-Evans for an update this afternoon. We mentioned the movement needs more than 500,000 signatures by mid-July. He said as of today, about 100,000 people have signed on. So still a ton of work to be done in the next 4.5 months. But again, Ann, this is just in order to get it on the ballot, not the 2026 ballot. This would be the 2028 ballot. And again, more than 500,000 signatures.
Okay, well, there's so many strong feelings about what's going on in the country now. I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to at least get close to that number. But what's interesting is we're talking about the divided times we're in right now. But he came up with this idea, you said, way before Trump was ever in the picture.
Yeah, and he really reiterated that in our car ride together, saying 2007, and it started more of as just an academic exploration. That's kind of how he thought of it. But then over time, and as at least the vision of the country that he saw and the vision of California that he saw changed, it started to become more of an actual practical idea that it's trying to put in motion.
And we'll see if that gains any traction.
We'll be watching closely.
But thanks, Max.
What do you think about the possibility of San Diego becoming its own state?
It's a long shot, and right now just a hypothetical question, but this could happen as part of an initiative for California to secede from the United States. CBS 8's Alex Lai joins us in studio with more details. Alex, what is the movement?
Well, it's a term called Calexit. It's referring to California becoming an independent and self-governing nation. It's now sparking interest again after the same movement failed in 2016. But the organization behind it says President Trump's re-election is raising questions for many Californians.
No state, by the way, has done more.
Should California leave the United States? A complicated and controversial question, and one that could appear on the ballot in 2028.
It's going to be shockwaves around the world.
Marcus Ruiz-Evans spearheaded the Calexit movement. He filed the initiative the night Trump was reelected, saying the rest of the states don't view California as part of the nation.
We walk the walk. We love immigrants. We love diversity. That's who we are.
If separated from the U.S., Evan believes business and the economy will thrive and state taxes could be cut in half. More needs to be studied about the potential benefits, and critics point out that California would need to pay for its own military and establish a nationalized government. But Evans argues if this was successful, the political future of California would be up to the voters.
What would probably happen is the governor would become president. You would probably break California up into some regions.
That means San Diego could potentially become its own state. Although the same movement fizzled out in 2016, Evans is confident now is the best time.
It's not really about Trump. It's about the fact that you're in a country that would vote for him 3 times.
So what happens next? Calexit needs to get more than 546,000 signatures by late July to get the initiative on the 2028 ballot. If California voters pass the measure, California will not be forced to leave the union. Instead, a commission will look into the possibility of California as its own country. Tonight, I spoke with UC San Diego political science professor Thad Kauser, and I asked him if the Constitution even allows for a state to secede.
We fought a war over that, the Civil War. It's very clear. This initiative, even if it would pass, would have absolutely no effect. It's only symbolic and advisory.
But he does think it could spark political momentum.
It would send a really strong message about California rejecting some of the current direction of the federal government. It wouldn't actually change any of the reality.
Calexit can start collecting signatures as soon as tonight. They say the form will drop by midnight for people to sign.
So, Alex, if the Constitution doesn't allow states to secede, what is Calexit basing its initiative on?
Well, Evans says it can happen under international legal precedent, which was set by Brexit. First, you have to show that people want to be independent with a domestic vote, which then gives the state international recognition. If that goes through, Evans says they can go to Washington, D.C. to ask for permission to leave the U.S., and a 51% from Congress could be all that's needed.
Well, the election fresh in a lot of people's mind, a lot of people looking for somewhere to put their energy, but it's a long way off for this becoming anywhere close to a reality.
Definitely.
Good to hear about the background, though. Thanks, Alex.